Okay folks, in this video we're going to do a quick tutorial on kind of setting up something for slicing, doing the G-code generation, and also finding ways to document your settings. One thing you need to understand in terms of setting up your settings within a slicer system is that it doesn't always maintain the stuff, and so you may have to change settings from one project to the next. You may design a part and you may choose to use a different layer height, a different infill, and over time you may change those settings until you get it just right, and then you want to save those settings. Well, you can't really save it here for every other part, but what you might need to do is document what these settings are so that you can come back to, 6 months later, if you redesign the part and reprint it, you will know what settings to put it at. And it can be a very simple process of a screen capture. So for example, just using this calibration cube here, I have it set up, I have it oriented in a way that works. I don't need support. Technically, I probably wouldn't need adhesion because more than likely a part like this is going to adhere to the bed just fine. And what I would do is actually take a screen capture of this scene right here to actually store and save in a file so that I would be able to come back to it. I would probably date it. And of course we all know how to do screen captures at this point in time. So I would take a screen capture right here, label it, and actually have that for future records. And so that of course can be done in a bunch of different ways. We know how to do screen capture with just like putting it into Word Paint. And if you wanted to, you could actually set up a Word file and just screen capture and insert it in with good information. Let me So to document this, what I'm going to do is actually document it on the Word file, and I'll just do a quick screen capture. I like to use a software called PicPic myself, although you can use any screen capture approach that you like. And PicPic is free, so it's P-I-C-P-I-C-K, or maybe vice versa, something like that. You can find it pretty easily with the Google search. Do a screen capture. And although I might get all of this material in the screen capture, it's not all that I want to put into my Word file. So I'm going to just do a normal copy, and I'll open a Word file up. There we go, have a Word file, and I might put in information regarding my part, or I might say something along the lines of settings for calibration cube, and I may give it the date that I'm actually doing it, and then I may paste in the actual screen capture into the Word file. Now there's more information here that I really need, so I'll click on it and I'll use my picture format tools to crop it to just what I really need in terms of the data. I'm only interested really in the settings that I've used to make it. And so I'll just crop around to that point and then stretch the image up. That way I don't have to go through and type everything out. I can just basically use the screen capture to say this is what I've done. And so that's a great way for you to save these type of files with your work, and over time you can always come back to the settings so that you know what worked best. And it may take some trial and error to figure out what settings work best for your particular part, and you'll get some experience with that over time. But this is how you can document the settings, so 6 months from now you don't have to reinvent the wheel again by figuring out what settings you need. Now another example of the documentation is actually documenting that the slice, or what the slice should look like. And you may do this just to give yourself a feel of what it's supposed to look like when it's being produced. And that's a real quick and easy thing to do as well. I'll go back into Cura here, and I'll go ahead and tell it to slice. Switch it to preview. And I will take a look, as we have learned in the past, to drag this vertical slider right here so I can see the part. And one of the things that you may want to do to help yourself out over time is to capture imagery of the part being partially produced. So notice that I'm taking it to about halfway over here on the right. Close that down. About 50, layer 50 here. That's not necessarily what's always going to be, but let's just say it's about halfway up the build, and I may do a screen capture now and also insert that into my Word file for reference in terms of what it should look like on the internal aspects of the part. So I'll get a nice position here. It's about halfway. I do a screen capture. And I also copy that and place it into the Word file. I may title this slicing or mid-slice, or maybe just say mid-build structure. You can call it whatever you want to. It's whatever helps you kind of remember where you are. And again, I will use my cropping tools up at the top to crop out what I don't really need in terms of the image, just to save a little space. I may leave the other stuff there. And so now I have a reference in terms of what my settings were. I have a reference in terms of what it should look like. And just to be fun, I may actually go get a reference of what my G-code starting settings might look like, just in case something changes between now and a year or two when I may print this part again. And that takes an extra step, but it's also pretty easy. I'll go ahead and tell it to save the G-code file, and let's just call this example cube _1. Hit save. It even allows me to open the folder back up. Maybe. Oops, there it is over there. Sorry. And I will again right click on this and choose to open it with a program like WordPad or a text document reader. And there's my G-code. Now, I don't want to copy this G-code into my Word file because the entirety of it, because obviously it's gigantic. As you can see, that much material there, it's a lot. But what I can do is I could either take a screen capture of just maybe this area, or I could just do a copy and paste of just this amount of the text. There's no point in getting it all. There's, the rest of it is just sort of irrelevant in terms of documentation. So I can select all that, say copy, go back into my Word file, and say start G-code, paste it there, and you can see it pasted. So this is another way for me to document material that I may need later on, just to make sure everything's good to go with the next version. Again, I could have also done it in the form of just saying, oops, go down below this, and say start G-code screen capture. And I can actually open up this and just say screen capture of this shot right here. Copy and paste that into my Word file as well. I like this one a little bit better because of the fact that it doesn't take up as much space. And again, it's all about documentation. Now, as you have learned though, once you have the G-code, that's actually what you're going to send to the printer. In our case, storing that G-code sometimes might be a handy thing to do. So I could save this G-code to some drive that I have, or I could save it to a cloud drive. And that's never a bad idea, because when you save it to a cloud drive, that means you can have it, you can send the link to someone else who has a similar printer, and they could just fire up the G-code and get going. That way they don't have to do the slicing and or potentially make some mistakes in terms of settings. It's just the exact executable file. So next what we'll do is actually upload our G-code and maybe some reference information to a cloud drive. So to do this, first thing I'm going to do is actually go create a folder for this information to be placed on my cloud drive. And I'll just use a Google Cloud folder that we have. So I would sign in, of course, as normal with my cloud drive service, and I would just tell it to add a new folder. And I would possibly name it, click on a little harder there, possibly name it sample Gcodes. Now, creating documentation for yourself does oftentimes involve dates. And so what we recommend typically is finding some kind of naming convention or something to help you organize your thoughts, and so organize your files, because you may end up having a lot of them over time. So I'll hit new folder inside that folder, and I may call it, I may give it the date in question and also the name of the file. Or maybe I'll do cube and then underscore and then add the date into the folder, so that I know when the actual file was created and of course what its name. So I'll go in there. And so now we're inside this folder where we can start uploading the information we need. And we know one thing that we have to have is we have to have the actual cube itself loaded into it. So I can go to File, or I can go to the button here and say New File Upload, or I can simply just drag this G-code over. And that G-code is now here for safekeeping. Also, I may want to include this Word document that I've used to document my settings and also the image of the actual halfway build. And so I would save this Word file as well. And I think I've already saved it to my desktop, so I'm good there. And I would close it out. And so now all I have to do is drag it over and upload it into my document as well. And there it is on the desktop screen, and making sure that I am, of course, you always have to make sure that you are in fact signed in, as you see that I am now. And I can just drag it over from my desktop screen and place it, or I could go to New File Upload and place it from there. Either way, it is now in my folder on my cloud drive. Now you may ask, well, shouldn't I add the STL into it too? And I could say yes, but the deal is once you have the G-code, as long as we're talking about the same printer that the G-code was designed for, you don't actually need the STL file to do the work. And I may store the STL file some other place. The key thing is that I have the code, I know what the settings are, and so this would allow me to recreate the part over a period of time, over a period of years, and still have the same results. Now, the last thing I might need to do is make sure that I share this particular cloud drive location either with myself or to an easy to find place or with others. And with Google, that's a pretty easy thing to do. You just click on the little button here and you say get shareable link, and I'm going to basically hit the sharing settings here so that it can be viewed, and I'll click on it, say copy link. And now I can paste that link into an email or some other form, and folks can come and get to my settings and also my G-code, but they don't actually have to have the file. And they can't make changes. By setting it to basically view only, they only have the ability to see the work or download the work. They don't have the ability to come into my file and make changes to it. So again, I'll just go there, hit get shareable link, sharing settings, set to view, click on it, copy link, and then paste that link somewhere where it needs to go. And one of the things we like about this approach with Google is you don't actually have to log in. If someone uses this link, they don't have to log into Google to actually download this. And so that's how you would document your materials, store your G-code, have it ready for future use, and also share it with the world if need be, or share it with folks you are collaborating with. Quite a few steps there, but it's all stuff that is pretty basic. We've learned before. We're just using it in a good way to document our work so that we can recreate it time and time again. Alright? So what I want you to do before you finish up this video is I'd like you to go through all those steps. Pull down a cube, set your slicing settings. You can actually use what we've used in the past, what I have here on the screen. You can use a 0.1 layer height, 20% fill, no need for support or adhesion. Make sure it's set to the printer that you want to use it for. Do a screen capture of where it is roughly halfway in the build. Screen capture your actual settings. Put those into a Word file or Word document. And then also create the G-code file, get a screen capture of it, put it into the Word document, and then go and actually create a cloud drive location where you store the G-code and the demo of settings, or the actual Word file with the settings in it, paste it all there. So essentially you're just going to go back through the video and recreate everything I've done for yourself so that you can utilize it, and you never know when a quiz or some kind of assignment might be based on this. Alright, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.